So the theme for today's panel is the impact on the path to Amritkal. So in this year's budget, ma'am, we see for the first time this new concept of Amritkal as in a vision for the next 25 years that the nation would achieve. So what are your first thoughts on the budget and what was your initial reaction?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me here and taking the effort to organize this program. It is, I must say, a very welcome effort of SA Law along with the Mani Bee Institute. Coming back to the question that you put to me, I think Amritkal, the introduction of the concept of Amritkal, has been done at a very good time. The way India is positioned, the vision of Amritkal is something which, this is absolutely the right time to introduce it, and it is much required to have a focus, to have a concrete plan in place for the next 25 years so that we move ahead with something very definite in mind. We are an economy where we have to balance two very important aspects. We have a population size where, in order to boost the economy, we need to boost consumption. At the same time, in order to ensure that with this population size, the resources are not wasted, we need to recycle the resources. So when I look at the budget, I find that both these aspects have been adequately taken care of. And in fact, the concept of Saptarishi, which has been brought in to take care of inclusive development, sustainable development, giving a boost to the economy through waste management, wealth from waste, the circular money economy concept, everything I think are steps in a very positive direction.
Next, I would like to ask Mr. Rashutosh if you would please share.
No, no, start, please.
Oh,
hi,
so my
sorry.
question was, what are your first thoughts or what is your first reaction to this vision of Amritkal that is being introduced in the budget?
Oh, okay. Let me put it this way. The journey which our country has traveled for the past 75 years, if that were supposed to be a benchmark, then the next 25 years are going to be something all of us can't even imagine. We can't envisage what sort of thing, like maybe defense exports or maybe sports we are leading, or so many sectors after sectors. I mean, it's not just this single budget. If you look at the way the things are happening as regard the spending and stuff like that, there is so much of effort, deliberate effort going in capitals. Even in Delhi, we can see so much of construction activity happening all over. So all these things are going to be assets for the next 25 years. And uh, recently, I was fortunate to speak with Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal, and the person of his stature said that by the time it's 2047, India will be the number one economy in the world. I mean, it's not like me or someone else saying. If a person of his stature is saying it officially, and we are number three or number five, depending upon whatever way you look at. Now, if someone in the government actually saying that we can be number one, we are taking a shot at that, then the amount of wealth which, and my kids are here. My kids, as in one kid I'm carrying around, all of you have seen it. But other my students are here, so these are all 20-year-old guys, and the next 40 years or next 25 years they will be in the workforce. They are the guys who will be driving it. So the future for them will be, like, they will be making the future. So I don't know, I mean, it's beyond words.
Right. Mr. Anand, what are your first thoughts? And as a lawyer, does the e-courts project excite you? Are you excited by the allegations or the changes made in this budget?
All right, just to give my initial reactions, like Nilima ma'am had also said, it is very important that you have a vision and objective at the long term. Therefore, the concept of Amritkal, where you define that the next 25 years is going to be geared towards achieving a specific target, which economic experts want to say India should be the number one global economy. That is a very good initiative. What I would like to see further from this initiative is the roadmap of how we are going to achieve that over the next 25 years. Instead of it being unveiled or we having expectations from each budget year on year, if we have set targets and milestones and various phases in which the path is going to be achieved, that would lend more clarity and that will also open up greater avenues for exchange of ideas whereby everybody can contribute in achieving that goal. It is no doubt a laudable and noble goal. Coming to the specific aspect of courts in that regard, e-courts is the direction that we are going to take in future. The adoption of technology in the legal profession, or for that matter, any other profession, has always been constant. That is inevitable. You cannot stop. It's a tide that keeps on rolling. You cannot stop that. To what extent, at what level, and how effective it is going to be will be the concerns that we have. We are already, when we are analyzing e-courts, we are already supposed to be in the phase 3 of that. Phase 1 and phase 2 have already been gradually implemented, where you are digitizing all the records of the courts. You are also enabling litigants as well as advocates to participate in the court proceedings through technological means or electronic means. The penetration of this should be farther and wider now. What is very critical is the gap that we need to bridge and focus would be at the trial court level, where the languages vary maybe about at a distance of every 300 kilometers in the country, where evidence has to be recorded. A lot of documentation there is going to be in original. Digitization of that, creating a cyber security architecture and infrastructure around that, keeping in view the existing legal framework, that would be the very important steps. I am hoping that it will come in phase 4 or phase 5 of this process. Phase 3 would be a little too early for us to envisage a complete digital architecture or to move towards e-courts. But I'm really hopeful that over the next 25 years, we work together in a concerted manner.
Ma'am, this budget has touched upon sustainable development in India. Where does the green growth priority in the budget fit in that journey? I'd just like to know your thoughts on that.
Uh, sh- uh, I think green growth priority, as I said, is a very important part. More so, as I said, keeping the population size in mind. Recycling of resources is something which is very important and inherent to the need of our economy and the society. Therefore, the vision of green growth, which seeks to promote this by providing more credits, by also promoting startups, or by giving more boost to startups for, as they say, wealth from waste projects and other projects, is a very important part, and a very generous and liberal allocation in the budget has been made towards the various programs to achieve this. Govardhan and various other schemes which have been introduced in this direction are definitely a welcome step. And if you just permit me, I would like to add on what you asked on the e-codes earlier.
Of course, ma'am.
One of our speakers earlier, Mr. Tejaswi Surya, had spoken about the infrastructural development. I would like to say that the COVID wave of 3 years has shown us that what really connected people and what kept the courts going was the e-system, the digitization, and the video conferencing, the hearings we could do online, because of which we could really continue working from home. We could keep all our work going. So it has really shown us how important it is for the e-court projects, and the three recent steps which the courts have taken in this direction Also, so we can now, sitting at home, hear the constitutional court hearings, you know, all the hearings which are taking before the constitutional court. The judgments are now going to be translated in regional languages, so it will give access to everybody in the country. Also, a database like the law journals, the SCR, etc., is being built and which will be uploaded on the court websites. And in one of the recent observations of the court, which I was hearing, was that it is hoped that all courts will keep their video conferencing systems ongoing, even though now we are able to appear physically. I think are all steps in the right direction in that regard. I'm sorry I spoke out of turn, but I thought I must
That is one of the
share.
questions that I was going to
Yes.
ask next.
Thank you.
Uh, Ashutoshji, the new tax regime that this government has now set, the new tax slab of no income tax up to 7 lakhs, do you think it's a mere arithmetical gimmick, or will it have a predictable and measurable impact upon the savings for the people of the country?
Okay, let me just give a brief background about this. Thing is that the earlier thing was you have Section 80C or different type of deductions. When I was working, I'm talking of 2007, I was working in a company and there I had this salary structure. So you give your professional tax and stuff like that all. There was a colleague of mine who had deliberately asked the management that I will work as a consultant, you do 10% TDS. So if I get 1 lakh rupees, take 10% out, give me the entire. Now I said that why are you doing this kind of a thing? So he said, with the remaining 90,000 rupees, I will decide whether I want to buy an insurance, whether I want to take a housing loan. I mean, all these things which are there, ATC benefit or interest, uh, there was definitely the intention was good to make people save or something. But if you look at the insurance sector, the mis-selling is so phenomenal. I mean, even in this budget, that there have been some announcements regarding insurance policies and tax. So the thing is, and if I were to extend it one step further, the financial illiteracy in India is far more. It's like 70%. So all these, if we have to look at it from that way, you can say that all these were crutches. I mean, I was not buying insurance because I wanted life insurance. I was buying insurance because it gave me tax benefit. So the whole purpose of insurance was lost. So to that extent, maybe this is a positive change, and uh, people will be now trying to ask the correct questions and maybe buy term plans. So I'm very much. I had shifted to it a long time back by my this thing, and definitely more people will. So I'm all for it. Yeah.
Just to add to that, just another dimension to it. See, I think the new tax regime attempts at bringing in a new philosophy into incentivizing use of finances by people. Like Ashutosh was just saying, there is a lot of financial illiteracy in the country. People don't realize what they are doing with their money or investing in. The usual example that is given usually is of a winner in a lottery. They don't know what to do with the money. They become suddenly rich, but they gamble away all that money and they don't really have any money because there is no education properly with respect to handling of finances or investment. So this new tax regime brings in a new philosophy where money is put in your hand. You become wise enough to handle your own money instead of the government inducing and incentivizing savings in a fashion. There is criticism that India has a large saving culture, and this new regime perhaps is deviating from that. It is a deviation, no doubt, but with focus on financial literacy to the general public, I think that deviation would also be good. And the ministry has, I believe, taken that as a cautionary note in the sense that it is now at the option of the taxpayer to choose the old regime or the new regime. This will continue hopefully for a few more years, by which time enough dissemination of information would have taken place at the grassroots level, who will be the real beneficiaries of this kind of a scheme and regime. And it would also give us good traction to assess if the scheme is really working in the intended fashion or not.
Right. My next question was directed to you. So we all know that ChatGPT is the buzzword in town,
Yes,
and I know from our
artificial
experience that you
intelligence.
advise so many fintech and tech companies, and you are into technology yourself. So do you think AI is going to replace lawyers?
Okay, so AI cannot replace lawyers, that's a short answer. But there is always utility to any technological development and tool. In the interest of the individual at a very micro level, at a personal level, it is better if you adapt to changing technologies faster so that you're not following the change, therefore left behind, but rather you're changing with the change. That is very important for you to adapt to new technologies. But artificial intelligence really cannot do away with the human agency involved. Ultimately, law touches upon the lives of individuals and persons. Uh, the nuances involved in interpretation of law and the nebulous area that law really deals with, it is shades of gray within gray. Therefore, that I do not think that human agency can be completely eliminated. What at best artificial intelligence, especially given the current state of technology, can do is maybe ease the process of due diligence in the sense that the documents can be scanned, digitized, and the software can help you identify certain critical aspects and areas that you would like to know about. There are also possibilities that, for instance, ChatGPT was the example that you gave, which you throw up an open question based on the large amount of open source data, it comes up with some kind of paragraph or gives you bullet points. Maybe to prognosize your own arguments and contentions to see what kind of counter arguments you could get, you would be able to develop some kind of a software which will automate that process. But of course, the result will then have to be analyzed by the lawyer behind to decide what kind of use you can do. I mean, these are two things that I could think of how we can use AI in the future. AI as a technology is quite at its nascent phase. We have a long way to go before we really see the full utility of such kinds of data analysis or information related technologies being available to lawyers.
Right. I actually have a long list of questions, but unfortunately we are running late today, and I know that many people in the audience are waiting for
Can I
your.
ask one question in this?
Yes.
Sorry. This is directed to Nilima ma'am. Ma'am, you were also a chartered accountant before you became a lawyer. Now, I would like to know your thoughts on the new tax regime and as well as the volume of criminal provisions involved in direct and indirect taxes. There is, of course, no substitute to penalty because if violation of law is not penalized, law simply becomes a toothless tiger. Therefore, where do we balance this enormous amount of criminal provisions in the tax provisions and at the same time to ensure that there is effective implementation of the laws?
I don't know why you had to ask this trickiest question from me. I'll make my best attempt to answer this. So, my answer would be that you are absolutely right. Simplification of processes, simplification of the income tax laws is what this budget seeks to do. So, the slab system has been simplified. The forms which are to be filled up, they are each year, I would say, sought to be simplified. Whether that happens or not is, I cannot say, because I have seen some forms, especially when companies file their returns, running into God knows how many pages, because there is so much of information to be shared. At the same time, that information also ensures that nothing is missed. So the companies are not able to fudge accounts or fudge information to escape any possible tax liability. Having said that, so far as the criminal aspect is concerned, my personal view would be that, except in extreme cases, we should really do away with that. We should give to a person the option, to the assessee, the option to be able to, if it is a case of, if it's a genuine case of trying to avoid payment of income tax, the liability, then to impose some kind of a penalty or some kind of a money liability to interest or whatever nature, to ensure that such conduct is not repeated. But otherwise, I can assure you there are a lot of genuine cases, especially individuals, where sometimes they are not fully aware of the laws, or there are delays for several other reasons. It can just be because they are laid back. It can also be because there was nobody to help them, or they were not willing to pay for a professional fees. So I think to simplify the process further, a time limit should be set that, all right, if you have defaulted, then make the payment within a certain time. If you still don't, then of course the interest or the penalty, etc., can run. And criminal part, in my view, should definitely be done away with, except, like I said, in extreme cases. But that is a purely personal opinion.
Ma'am, I think we'll just have some closing remarks from all of you. So, to put it very succinctly, Budget 2023, do you think it is a hit or a miss? What do you think is uh, the takeaway from the budget?
As of now, the form in which we see the budget, it is definitely a hit. The real test is always the implementation. So once we will see the implementation coming, then we will know the final results.
I don't have anything to add.
Uh, I'm too excited about not just this budget, but generally about the prospects. As I said earlier also, and I'm saying now also, uh, purely I being more of a stock market oblique investment guy, the amount of wealth which we all will be having the opportunity to make will be for our generation. The next 25 years, each one of us sitting here can reach to 100 cr. I mean, the students at least, they have that time in their hand. So I'm very bullish. I'm very confident about India, whichever government is there, whatever policies are there, it is now on its growth path and it cannot be stopped.
Right. So, on that positive note, we bring this panel to a close. Thank you so much, ma'am,